Greetings and call this meeting of the Saco School Board to order for Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021 at 5 p.m. All school board members are present, including Superintendent Ray. With that, I'd like to invite you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. On to item 3 of the agenda, and that is the approval of the school board meeting minutes dated December 8, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
School board member Archie, is there a second?
Second.
School board member Johnston, any discussion?
Just one tiny thing.
School board member Truman?
On the superintendent's report, 1, 2, 3rd bullet down, principals is the wrong principals. It's pretty minor. If we just have that fixed and then still approve? Can we
Would
still
you like to
approve?
table that and see that the superintendent makes sure that they get corrected till the next meeting?
I mean, it seems like a pretty tiny thing. I don't know if it's something that we can approve and just have it corrected, or if that's something we have to completely table. You're looking at me like that's not an option.
If you'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes to reflect the
Yes.
different principle, we can do that.
Okay.
You can make that motion if
Okay.
there's a second.
Second.
Second by School Board Member Gale to amend the minutes to reflect the different terminology. Any discussion on the amendment only? On the amendment only? Roll call vote on the amendment only. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Amendment passes 7-0. Back to the school board meeting minutes that have been amended. Any discussion? Roll call vote on the minutes. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to approve the minutes. Brings us to item 4, adjustments to the agenda. Is there an adjustment for this evening?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member LaFortune?
I move that we add under executive session, to enter executive session under 1 MRSA subsection 405-6F, discussion or review of confidential records with possible action.
Second.
Motion's been made to add an executive session with possible action, seconded by School Board Member Truman. Any discussion on adding the executive session? Roll call vote to add the executive session. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
The addition passes 7-0. Any further adjustments to the agenda? Seeing no further adjustments, moving on to item, Superintendent Ray?
On the agenda, there's also, we need to add an item H, and it's the addition of a policy. It's on our proposed, there's a memo and a proposed addition of policy JFL, JFLE, and JLFR around reporting child abuse and neglect. This is a mandatory policy that is not on our books.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm sorry, I did forget about that. I move that we add section F, which would be for a first reading and a second reading of the policies that were just listed. So that's JFL and JFLE and JFLR.
Okay, there's a motion made by School Board Member LaFortune to add to Section H under action items for a first and second reading of policies. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Johnston. Any discussion?
Are we going to be getting copies of those?
There was an email that was sent. You should have received
I
that.
did receive.
Did that email come this evening or this
No,
afternoon?
it was earlier in the week.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say I didn't receive that as either, so just letting you know.
So,
We will get copies if we need to. Can we print here, Stacy?
if this is an ad, are you looking for a vote tonight?
Yes, it's a required policy that Saco Schools has no policy on reporting child abuse and neglect. And that has been a required policy, I believe, backdated 8 years ago, 11 years ago, and it's not on our books, and it needs to be on our books.
It may be wise to call a special meeting next week rather than to ask the school board to vote on something they haven't seen, but I'll leave that to the wisdom of the school board members.
I'd just like to add, I just checked my email and I don't have a copy of that, so.
Thank you. Seconded by School Board Member Johnston on adding Section H for tonight for first and second reading. Any discussion?
So just to round out the discussion around the required nature of it, we're, 8, 10 years in arrears.
Yep.
I know another week is 8 or 10 years plus another week in arrears, but given the fact that some of the school board members don't have a copy, I am
We can add it to the next,
inclined to go down the path of moving
And-
it to the next meeting.
and that's fine. We can add that to that. I just, I need the school committee to understand that that policy is so important for us, and it needs to be there.
Any further discussion on this item? Roll call vote to add Section H for our first and second reading on these policies.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member LaFortune?
given the discussion that we just had, I withdraw my motion.
Motion is being withdrawn by School Board Member LaFortune. School Board Member Johnston, are you willing to withdraw your second? Thank you.
So in its place, I move that we table this until the next meeting.
Second.
So you don't have to table it because you've removed the motion from the table. So you don't have to table it. You can just bring it up at the next meeting as part of your agenda planning. Any further adjustments to the agenda? Okay, moving on to item 5, correspondence. Any correspondence this evening? No correspondence. Item 6, public session. We've had one folk sign up here, Holly Trottier from the Saco Education Association. Please come forward, speak directly into the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Holly Trottier. I am speaking on behalf of the Saco Education Association and do not actually live in Saco. The Saco Education Association sends its gratitude to the school board and administrative team for the generous gift received by the staff members. We are grateful that you recognize the team effort this year, and thank you very much.
Thank you. If there's anyone else who would like to address the school board under public comment, please come forward and be heard. State your name and address for the record, please.
Susan Newmeyer, Wildwood Drive. The Saco School Department Central Office should return to a permanent location at 90 Beach Street when a permanent superintendent is selected. This building was purchased in 2003 for approximately $250,000. It has been renovated at least 2 times. The first time was extensive at the cost of about $200,000, and another time for approximately $60,000. Currently, special ed and technology are housed there. Much of the space on the front entrance level is unused. Recently, a secure entrance system was installed with moderate success. The complete system has a door buzzer, intercom system, and camera. All of these components, as of last week, when I visited there, were not fully operational. Perhaps this is different today. It's in the best interest of the students, staff, and taxpayers of Saco that the central office be located there. Collaborative decision-making is imperative with a well-located meeting place that is known to all and easily accessed by taxpayers of Saco. A lot of money has already been spent at 90 Beach Street, so it would be wise for it to be used for its intended purpose and full potential. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Moving on from public comment. Brings us to item 7, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Ray.
All right, good evening, everybody. First, I have a couple of recognitions, and the first one is last meeting, I wanted to take an opportunity to recognize Charles Massey and Tony Pileski, and we had some gifts for them, but they weren't quite finished, as everything takes a little bit of time. And so I have a nice Saco School Department vest for Charles here tonight to thank him for serving on the board, and I'd like to present that to him. Second recognition that I'd like to talk to tonight is that Maine School Boards Association this year recognized their Distinguished Service Award to school nurses across the state. And we are fortunate enough tonight to have 3 of our school nurses with us, and out of our 5, and this wasn't exactly what we had planned for weather on the night that we were hoping to present to you guys. But the role of the school nurse has changed so much in the last 20 months that with the addition of COVID-19, we have 5 ladies who work 7 days a week, nonstop, making sure that our students are safe, they're cared for, they're the first line of defense of all injuries, healthcare situations, and have gone above and beyond each and every day. As we spoke this week, when you think about COVID-19 and the resources that school districts provide, we started to talk about testing. And we have some of our nurses that give, on non-pool testing days, 25 to 30 COVID tests a day. And when pool testing days come, we can be upwards of 100. And this is one single person caring for our kids. And so with all of my appreciation and that of the Maine School Boards Association, I'd like to recognize Jess Morgan, Christina Renaud, Deb Malia, Joan Holmes, and Mariah Goff for their outstanding service to our students, our community, and our families. And thank you very much, ladies. I have a certificate for you, and please, please, please take a break the next week and a half. Deb, that's you too. We have tried to put in place for our community a process so that if your child or a family member comes down with COVID-19 or you're a close contact, that you fill out this form These 5 ladies deserve an opportunity to be off their computer and away from email over the holidays, and I ask people to please fill that out, because I also know that these 5 ladies want to make sure that when we return to school on January 3rd, that they're organized, their kids are safe, and that we're on top of things. And so, if you're out there listening tonight, please help our school nurses over the next couple of weeks and report that way, because they've earned every minute of time off that they can. So ladies, if you please come up, I'd like to present you with some certificates.
Thank you very much.
And ladies, I will not be offended if you want to start that vacation early. Another piece, as we know this morning, was our first snow day, and we've sent a letter out to the community about what is the best way to get our notifications and where they are first. And just a reminder to everybody that it's always important to make sure that you keep your students' contact information updated, because that's where the phone calls go, that's where the email address goes. And if you're someone who moved out of town or if things have changed, sometimes there can always be a mistake, and a call can go out to a family that no longer has a kid. Just contact us and we'll help you take that off. Again, another reminder to the community, I just said it a few minutes ago, but a letter went out today to talk about the process that we would like you to use on reporting cases of COVID-19 over the holidays. We have a form on there, and this will quickly help us sort the information and be prepared when we come back to school next week. We are awaiting, as school departments, an update from the DOE on the standard operating procedures for working with COVID-19 and what that will entail. As many of you have seen on the news, that the CDC is considering several different items. One is shortening the length of quarantines for those who are vaccinated and are positive. That was something that's new that came out today. They are looking at, the national CDC is looking at a test to stay procedure, and that is something that we would need to see how the DOE deals with that. And then finally, we know that the testing rule that we have in effect of either vaccination or pool testing is already in place. We are waiting and hoping and praying that pool tested will be an acceptable form of the test out procedure. If that is not an acceptable form in the state of Maine and something that the CDC uses, that will also add a great deal of work to our current employees, and we would need to come back with a different plan in place to make sure that we were supportive of them. So a lot of different pieces with COVID still making its way through the country and through the state of Maine right now, and I would encourage everybody to be as safe as we can over the holiday season, and please report those close contacts using the sheet so that we're safe on returning to school. And then finally, a thanks to all of our employees and wishing them the happiest of holidays, as it's been a tough stretch, and we couldn't get there through all of this without all of their hard work and dedication to Saco students.
Thank you, Superintendent Ray. Any questions for Superintendent Ray? Moving on to item 8, the Chair's report. Chair LaFortune.
I don't have anything this evening, other than just to echo what Jeremy just said. Thank you very much to everybody who is here, as well as those who are unable to be here tonight. that work for our district. It has been a rough year, been a rough couple of years, and I just want you to understand that we really do appreciate what you do for us here in Saco every day. And I hope that you do recognize that we recognize your contribution and truly appreciate it. And I'm sure I speak for all of the parents around the community as well, that being in school 5 days and doing what you do to make that possible every single day is definitely appreciated. Thank you. Have a happy holiday, and I hope you also get to have a decent break as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, there are no staff reports this evening. Item 10 on the agenda, there are no board subcommittee meeting minutes. Brings us to item 11, which is old business. Item A is the Day 1 MOU that was discussed at the last meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman?
are we doing the motion now? I move we authorize the superintendent to engage with Day 1 to provide contracted services to middle school students as outlined in the Day 1 MOU.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman, second by School Board Member Johnston, to approve the MOU with Day 1 services. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member LaFortune?
just a quick clarifying question. So this MOU runs through the end of this school year, and the question I have is, will we be following up with one for the following school year or a longer period of time at that time?
That would be our hopes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions, discussion? Roll call vote on approving the MOU. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to item 12, new business. Item A, there are some memo in the packet with new hires. Superintendent Ray, are you looking for any kind of motion on this?
Yes, we need motions for the 2 employees, a new hire, Jane Evans as a .5 EL teacher, and Abby Aldine, Director of Human Resources.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member LaFortune?
I move we approve the nomination of Jane Evans, half-time EL teacher, effective 12/22/21, and issue a contract for the remainder of the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member LaFortune, seconded by School Board Member Truman. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. School Board Member Truman, is there another motion? That brings us to item B, resignations.
We had a second person, Abby Aldine.
Okay.
I don't see anything
I
else on
don't
the
see it
memo.
on the
1222.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Richard?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the nomination of Abby Alden, Director of Human Resources, effective 12/22/21, and issue a contract for the remainder of the 2021-22 school year.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member LaFortune to approve the hiring of Abby Aldine, Director of Human Services. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Now we're on to item B, which is resignations. Superintendent Ray, are you looking for any kind of motion on this?
No.
School board members, you received a memo in your packet with the current resignations. Any questions on item B and resignations? No questions. Moving on to item C, which is BDA, the organizational meeting election of the chair and vice chair.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Johnston.
I would like to move to nominate Kevin LaFortune for our board chair for the coming year.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Johnston to nominate Kevin LaFortune for the chair for the upcoming year. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Gale. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
No.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
I'm going to abstain.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
No.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
4-2, motion passes. Kevin LaFortune for the school board chair for the next coming year. Is there a motion for the vice chair?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman?
I'd like to nominate Jeff Richards.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman, second by School Board Member Preble to nominate Jeff Richards for the vice chair position for the next coming year. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Abstain.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations to School Board Member Kevin LaFortune and School Board Member Jeff Richards on becoming chair and vice chair for the next year. With that, we move on to item D, which is BDE committee assignments.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member LaFortune.
so given that, just learned this evening that the two new members have had some difficulty with their email, and that's probably made it not possible for anyone to express some interest in which committees they have interest in or would like to probably move from if they're on. I would like to actually table that till the next meeting. We don't have any committees that are expected to meet between now and then. And I think it would just give everyone an opportunity to think about that, perhaps over the holiday, and then come back with some ideas of which committees that they would be interested in.
Any objection to deferring this to the next meeting?
No.
No objection. Would defer to the next meeting. With that, brings us to item E, a COVID update. Superintendent Ray.
This is nothing more than informational, trying to keep everybody in the loop about what counts and case counts and positive pools have looked like every 2 weeks. And I just want to, again, draw your attention to positive pools and close contacts, because those are the items that make that nursing job even so much more difficult, because every time there's a positive pool, you're looking at 10 to 15 plus tests per pool, by next now tests that have to happen 2 times. And then the close contacts are all of the parents that we're having to call. So when you think about the work that the ladies do in the course of a day, those are the numbers that really add to that job.
Any questions for Superintendent Ray on the COVID update report found in your packet? Hearing no questions, moving on to item F, a roof replacement for SMS, Superintendent Ray?
Yes, so earlier this evening in Finance Committee, we talked about the Saco Middle School roof, and if you remember last spring, we were able to put $498,000 into the budget to work on capital improvements, and a little bit of that money had been spent in other areas, but one of the items that was top on that list was looking at the Saco Middle School roof. We are hoping to replace $344,000 of roof, which would be for Section 4 and Section 7, which is the gym section and the library section, correct, Mike? While also, that work would be done this spring, while also hoping that in the next budget cycle, we're able to put a similar amount of money in there so that we can complete that project and have a new roof on that building that has been a source of leaks over time, is starting to get towards end of life. As part of this project, we also would be increasing the insulation on the roof from 3 to 6 inches, correct, Mike? And so we'd have a more insulated roof, which would help with the efficiencies for heating. And we, coming from from Finance Committee, recommend the approval of this piece.
Thank you, Superintendent Ray. Any questions for Superintendent Ray? Superintendent Ray, are you asking
Mr. Mayor.
for a motion?
Mr. Mayor, quick question.
Board Member Gale.
So, if I'm reading this right, we're going to have $103,000 remaining. Was there any discussion of addressing sections 2 or 3 or 5, given that in the future, construction prices are only going to be increasing?
Yeah, again, what we would hope to do is that towards the end of this budget cycle, as we look to see what remaining funds would have, knowing that we still have some capital improvement funds, then also budgeting in the future, hoping that we can put another $500,000 in, that in April, May, March, we can talk about those other 3 sections. And I know that Mike's worried about timing being a little bit of an issue, but thinking about if we can add on to that, get some more pieces done, and by the end of next budget cycle, have that roof replaced.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Preble?
so correct me if I'm wrong, Superintendent Ray, that those were the 2 pieces of the roof that were the worst off, that needed the most critical repair. Is that right? Or?
Yes, based off the recommendations from Mike, he wanted to address those sections first in this project, and then, again, looking at, again, we want to address all sections, but those were the most 2 critical to make sure that those were done this summer. And then again, hoping that we have enough, hoping that we have a good budget process, and that we can address the others in the following cycle.
Superintendent Ray, would you like a motion on this to approve this, or is this just informational purposes?
I would like to have a motion to approve so that we can lock in that price.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Archie?
could you explain to us where the $344,000 will be going and how many estimates we've gotten on that?
So we received 2 bids on this piece, and this is the low bid, and the $344,000, where it's going, or?
I just mean as far as how many estimates we've received.
We received 2 estimates, and this went out to full bid.
Any further questions? Is there a school board member willing to make the motion to approve the spending of the capital improvement funds?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman?
I make a motion to approve the school construction to repair the Saco Middle School roof.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Preble. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to item G, Superintendent Search. Superintendent Ray or Chair LaFortune?
I can queue up this item. So we have had discussions and probably throughout the community, people have had individual discussions amongst themselves about the path that we take with this. We've brought it to this meeting a few times to discuss where, where we are at or are not at. And given the, calendar where we are at, that I think we're at a point where we need to make a definitive decision of which path we're headed. And that is essentially what I was hoping to accomplish with this, getting on the agenda this evening. And so the path forward is either we start from a motion and do discussion, or have discussion and then arrive at a motion. I have no preference either way, but I'm prepared to make a motion to at least get the process started.
Make your motion if you're
Okay.
you're ready to make it.
All right, well, I move that we, as a school board, choose to take the path to continue for one more year with the arrangement that we have now with Jeremy Ray.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member LaFortune, second by School Board Member Johnston, to continue the contract with SMAC, or Southern Maine Administrative Collaborative, for one more year. Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion as presented?
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Gale.
just a couple of questions, and apologize because I'm, second meeting, so I guess I just have one thought in terms of the length of the contract, 1 year. What are the dates? And then is there, what are the dates for the year? Is it the school year?
So the current one that we have right now is for the school year, so it would be July 1st to June 30th. And that is, the reason I picked that date as extending what we have now is because that's what's in what we have now. I think that we would be free to entertain keeping it that way, or, going with a longer period. It was, as a starting point, it was simpler from my perspective to go with the known entity that we have right now from a contract standpoint.
And then a follow-up question to that is, the decision to move forward is occurring in December. Is the thought process then we would make another decision next year in December as well, as a board?
Reading the tea leaves, we could. My rationale for making the motion this evening is that if we were to take a path that did not take that direction and chose to do a search, we would really need to be starting that as soon as possible, because it is going to ultimately consume probably all of our spring in addition to the budget. And we would have to get ahead of that, not only to line up support from Maine School Management, assuming we would use them again as we did the last time, but there's going to be some lead time required to put together a committee for both search and selection, as well as a lot of the other logistics that go with that. So that's doing it now as opposed to a couple of months from now is, we're sort of at that juncture where it's time to decide what we as a board want to do moving forward.
And I guess just a last comment is that as a newly appointed school board member, elected school board member, it's difficult to make this decision in December with only, 2 meetings under our belts. And if we make this decision again next year, there's potentially going to be new school board members, or maybe not, but it's just a difficult decision to make second meeting into this. And I'm wondering, as we move forward, if we could think about the timing a little bit in the future. So just a couple comments there. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
School Board Member Truman.
I am supportive of extending it for 1 year. I know that typically superintendents are given contracts of 2 or 3 years typically to be renewed on that kind of cycle. I think I'm comfortable with the 1 year. I know we have a huge school that we're trying, the construction project that we're getting into. We have to get through bond. You know, we have other issues like our budget, and is it going well because of all the all the finances, what's the word I'm looking for? The funding that we're getting from the federal government. You know, and I'd like to kind of see how that shakes out. I do think that because the way we set this up in the spring, I do strongly believe that we need to go through the hiring process. But at this point, like this kind of weird juncture that we're at, I think that it would be wise to continue this for one more year. And I think it would also give our new members more time to kind of see how things are working, and if this is something that we would want to go through. But I do think that we, you know, the way we set this up earlier in the year was that we would go through this hiring process. I think timing-wise, talking about this in December, if we're going to hire someone different come July 1, still seems a little rushed to me, and I feel like given this one more year does make the most sense.
Mr. Mayor.
School Board Member Preble.
I'm going to have to agree. I am supportive of another year. I think we do need to go through the full hiring process as we set forth before. I'd like to see more future, if we go through with the year, I'd like to see more future communication within the communities as well, so that we're on board with where things lie. And I agree with Sarah, I agree with Sarah that we should allow more time for our new board members to get on track and stay with all of us and get a chance to get their feet wet and get a feel for our current situation, if that's something they truly want to continue or not, and go from there.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Archie.
I have not heard how the Bedford Committee feels about the situation. I know that they were speaking of it. Have they made a decision?
At this point, what I'm hearing from them, by way of their chair, which in Biddeford is Mayor Alan Caspian, is that they are on board if we are on board. It's sort of how the process goes, is that if we are not interested in that, then they will not chase. They're not going to try to convince us to do that if we are not interested in doing that in Saco.
And whatever boards decide, there still would need to be a negotiations process that occurred. And so I think that's just something that has to happen, is that if whatever decision boards make, there has to be a negotiation process. And if not, my recommendation is that Saco goes and looks and advertises for that position. Whatever happens, you're getting late. There are several openings for superintendents of schools, Bonnie Eagle, Old Town, what were the other ones that came out, guys? Freeport. But there's several of them starting. So whatever you guys decide to do, and again, Biddeford has to be, and Dayton have to be a part of that final decision if this is going to work out, needs to be done sooner rather than later. Because we have a lot of work to do. Whoever that is has a lot of work to do, and obviously school building is that's high on the list, is getting to vote next year. And number two is, again, just setting a course for, our schools and getting back. And there's, we have a big budget process coming up again. And so my recommendation is whatever you guys decide to do, that we start that process. And even if that means going to advertise and starting that process to see what's there, it needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. School Board Member Archie.
Superintendent Ray, are you suggesting that we should not do another one-year contract and that we should make our decision?
I guess what I'm saying is that if we go whatever direction you guys decide to do, it needs to be expedient. in the fact that it's getting to December. There's 3 or 4 other districts who are already looking for superintendents in southern Maine. And that if we want a quality candidate for Saco, whoever that is, that needs to occur. And we need to go forward. If the partnership is something that needs to be considered, then the 2 boards need to get down to brass tacks and kind of negotiate that contract to set the path. There's been several discussions already about that. But I also think that for the health of your school department, one way or the other, decisions need to be made. People need to know, staff needs to know, principals need to know. There could be hirings, and that sometimes that influences a lot of people's decision.
Any follow-up? Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr.
School Board
Mayor.
Member, go ahead, School Board Member LaFortune, then School Board Member Johnston.
I'll defer to,
School Board Member Johnston.
I guess I would like to say a couple of things reflecting over a number of years of time and several superintendents. I appreciate Superintendent Ray's urging us to move quickly if we choose to do a search. We've certainly been short on time in the past. But from my perspective, I think a great deal has been accomplished over the last short amount of time since the Southern Maine team has been with us. And I would just like to say it seems like we're moving in the right direction in a lot of areas. Chair LaFortune and I think, have said this to each other in the past. And I just want to say that I think it makes sense for us to continue in this route. And I think we would be starting a lot of things all over again if we do not at this juncture. Thank you.
Thank you. School Board Member LaFortune.
I was going to head down the same path, and I'm only speaking for myself. I've put a lot of thought into this over the course of the last 8 months, and have always been a data-driven person, and I like to have facts when I make decisions, and I've looked back through why did we decide to go with Jeremy and his team for the interim position. I've been asked that by people out in the community, and quite frankly, there was no other candidate who came in on short notice with an entrance plan to come in a month and a half and put us where we were last year. Fast forward that to the follow-up, that's kind of what drew me personally to why would we want to even continue for a year. And the way I look at it is absolutely knocked out of the park. Everything that the school board asked, and a number of things that we probably didn't even know we needed, took place this past 8-month period. I mean, some things that we have not been able to accomplish in 6 years have begun in the last 8 months. The school construction process is not the smallest of those by any means, but I look at the way things have been going and the potential for there to be lots of other ways that we might be able to collaborate with our neighbors that we're not even aware of at the moment. And I just look at that and say, this has a lot of potential. Not only potential for us to do the things that we know of right now, like the school construction process, but to make it possible to do some things that we don't even know we're going to want to do right now. And so that's where I'm at. And my head is in a place where I can't possibly look at how well things have gone and say I want to do something different. That's just where I'm at. I know there's 7 people up here with 7 individual positions, but that's where my head is at. I'm more than pleased and impressed with the job that's been done thus far, and I'm kind of wondering what can we do next? And that's really where I'm at.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The motion before you is to continue with SMAC for a 1-year contract extension. Motion was made by School Board Member LaFortune, second by School Board Member Johnston. A roll call vote. Oh,
I would ask that you rephrase that motion to, if that's the direction you're going to go, to negotiate It's not a continue. We need to do, if this is going to happen, this has to be a negotiation to bring back an agreement to then be voted on. It really would need to go that way.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I amend my motion to be that I move that we negotiate with the Biddeford School Department and SMAC to arrive at a new contract similar to what we have now.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Johnston.
I second the amended motion.
Okay, the new motion is for to negotiate with Biddeford and Southern Maine Administrative Collaborative, known as SMAC, for a one-year contract. School Board Member Gale.
So following up on this discussion and hearing the timelines for everything that the superintendent was talking about with the open positions, what is the timeline after this vote for an agreement to be presented to us to approve? Are we talking in January or February?
My suggestion would be whatever you do, to do it in January as soon as possible, if that's the direction, and make that decision, because if not, we need to start that process and secure good services moving forward and it's a process. It takes time. And so if that's the case, that it goes in that direction, we want to put Saco in the best position possible to get a quality candidate.
Just to clarify, but I guess my question is, what are the next steps moving forward after this vote? Is it that Biddeford will?
The next piece would be having a select committee negotiate that agreement, or to have those further discussions with Biddeford and Dayton to say, this is what it would take to do this.
I think if the motion passes, that would be something we would get going as soon as possible. And I would go and email Mayor Cassavant, right after we get out of here to see when we could get that going. So the goal would be to have that done as quickly as possible. And as Jeremy mentioned, it's really, time is of the essence, and we either need to head down a path of we're going to do that and we have the negotiation and that's successful, or get out of that path as quickly as possible and start an actual search. And that's really, my intent of putting this on the agenda this evening was to let's get that started as soon as possible.
That sounds good. The one thing to think about maybe is, do we need to put some sort of deadline on this motion? Because in my experience, negotiations work better with a deadline rather than an open-ended. I don't know if that would be helpful for this moving forward, or if it would be detrimental, but just a thought.
I don't see how that would benefit the process. The only thing is that with trying to put schedules together amongst a handful of us, it's challenging trying to do the same thing with another group of people. I'd hate to say we're going to do this by the 31st and then find out that nobody's available, or something like that. I definitely think that we want to have urgency applied to this process. I would hesitate to say that, okay, we're going to be done by the 10th of January, and if we aren't, what is the consequence of that? Do we have to build something into the motion that says that if we aren't able to do it by the 10th, then we've already decided that we're going the other path? I mean, that's kind of, if we're going to put a date, that's sort of, I think, what we would ultimately need to start considering is what is the, is it the fallback that we just give it a few more days, or is it that we have decided that it's too late at that point and, full speed ahead with a search?
And my comment would be that if this can't be wrapped up by the second meeting in January, it needs to move ahead. We got to start going on that process.
Mr. Mayor.
School Board Member Archie.
So I was a little confused when it was presented. I was under the assumption that we were going to try and do a one-year extended contract, but that's not what you're trying to push through. You're trying to get us to open a negotiation that could be in 2 or 3 year contract, correct?
I think that would be up to us when we decide to have the negotiation. So the current contract right now runs out at the end of this school year. In order to do something beyond that, we would have to negotiate with them anyway. And so.
But it's being worded as a one-year extension, or a one-year negotiation. So I just want to make sure that we're not voting on 1 year versus an open-ended position.
I see what you're saying.
There will be a date certain, like when it ends. The contract won't be like you get the job and you can have it until we fire you or you leave. The contracts always have an end date. So if it starts July 1 and goes for 1 year,
Right,
or
so
or it's
can-
2 years or 3 years. Most contracts go for 3 years.
Right, so can we reword the motion then?
Well, that's part of the negotiation piece, I think.
Right, and I think, I think I understand where you're coming from, Archie, and that what you're saying is that we don't want to necessarily have the motion that we've made hem us into it only being 1 year. If there's, the possibility that we as a board might be open to something longer than that. And I'm more than willing to amend the motion to have it be that we negotiate with Biddeford on terms amenable to all parties. Does that sound better?
Any further discussion? Chair LaFortune, have you given any thought to the problem of what happens if you're in negotiations and negotiations don't seem to be going well, that you're going to be stonewalled in the sense that there will not be enough time and Saco will be in a negative position moving forward because there will not be a time to do a search, which is what the school board told the community they were going to do last year. After the interim, there was going to be a full search. So have you given any thought to that,
To the
that
timing?
situation?
To the timing, that's why I'm both reluctant to say it has to be by a certain date unless we attach to that a contingency that says that if we go beyond, pick a date, whatever it is, that's, the second meeting of January, that if we haven't arrived at basically a spot of common ground amongst the parties, that we have decided at that point that we're not moving forward and continuing on and then doing a search at that point. That's why I'm saying that if we're going to pick a date, we have to have something that happens if the date should pass.
Any further discussion?
I guess just continuing to follow along with that, I mean, I feel like that should be in this motion. If we're authorizing to enter into negotiations, then it would be helpful for those folks to have everything up front so that both sides know that come, February 1st, Saco will do one or the other.
Yes, we need to move this. If this is going this direction, we need to have a decision clearly by February 1st, at the latest.
Chair LaFortune, do you want to amend your motion?
I will withdraw my original motion and make a new one for the sake of simplifying the discussion. So I move that we enter into negotiations with the Biddeford School Committee and SMAC to work on terms amenable to all parties, and that we have that meeting and a decision point completed by February 1st.
Second.
School Board Member Johnston, I take it with your second on this motion, you're good with withdrawing your second on the previous motion. Thank you. All right, so the motion is to move to enter negotiations with Biddeford and Southern Maine Administrative Collaborative, known as SMAC, for the terms of agreeable to the parties with a February 1st deadline. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie.
No.
School Board Member Preble.
Yes.
School Board Member Richard.
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune.
Yes.
School Board Member Gale.
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. That ends the new business this evening. That brings us to item 13, other information. Any other information this evening? Seeing no other information, we move to item 14. There was an addition to the agenda to add executive session 4056F with possible action. Is there a school board member willing to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have the motion. I move we enter executive session, discussion or review of confidential records with possible action under Section 1 MRSA, subsection 4056F.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member LaFortune, second by School Board Member Preble to enter executive session. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie.
Yes.
School Board Member Preble.
Yes.
School Board Member Richard.
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune.
Yes.
School Board Member Gale.
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to enter executive session at 6:02. Executive session will be downstairs in the conference room. Okay, we're back from executive session. Is there a motion to exit executive session?
So moved.
School Board Member Truman,
Second.
School Board Member Richard. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Roll call vote to exit executive session. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. At 6:55, School Board Member Truman, do you have a report from executive session?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we accept the resignation of Saco Middle School Principal Ken Hawkins so he can focus on his family and the many needs that have been waylaid since the pandemic began.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Johnston. Any discussion on the motion to accept? No discussion. Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to accept the resignation of Saco Middle School Principal Ken Hawkins. With that, we move on to item 15. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
School Board Member Truman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member Johnston. Any discussion on adjourning? Roll call to adjourn. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes to adjourn 7-0 at 6:56 PM. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and have a great holiday.
Thank you, you too.